I always thought I was a man of reason, someone who could read people, see through deception, and trust only those who deserved it. I wasn't a genius, not some millionaire with a perfect life, but I believed I had one thing figured out: loyalty. I worked hard, paid the bills, stayed faithful, and never let my wife go a single night without knowing she was loved. Turns out I was a fool. 12 years. 12 years of marriage, of sacrifices, of believing that we were in this together. That no matter how hard life got, no matter how exhausted I was from working overtime just to keep food on our table, she was my home, my safe place. But I was just a stepping stone in her life, a background character in a story she wrote for herself. I don't know exactly when it started. Maybe it was months ago. Maybe it was years. Maybe it was there all along, and I was just too blind, too naive, too desperate to believe in something that was never real. But the signs? Oh, they were there. I just convinced myself they weren't. Late nights at work that didn't make sense. The sudden need for privacy, the turned-down screen whenever I walked into the room. The dismissive attitude, the way she used to smile at me but now barely even looked my way. But the worst part? The indifference. The way she stopped caring about me, about us, as if I had become just another chore, something she had outgrown but didn't have the decency to let go of. And I was the idiot who kept fighting. I remember nights when I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself that everything was fine, that she was just stressed, that I was imagining things, that the exhaustion in her voice had nothing to do with another man. I told myself love was about trust, about believing in the person you gave your life to. But love is also about respect. And respect was the first thing she threw away when she decided to betray me. The night I finally saw the truth with my own eyes, I wasn't supposed to be home early. Fate had a cruel way of working, and for once, my shift at work ended sooner than expected. I remember walking through that front door, holding a bag of takeout, thinking about how I'd surprise her, how I'd finally ask her what was wrong, how we'd talk things out like we used to. But what I found, what I saw shattered me in a way I never thought possible. And in that moment, everything inside me broke. I stood there, frozen. My mind refused to process what my eyes were seeing. My wife, the woman I had sacrificed so much for, was in our bed with another man. The room was dimly lit, the glow from the bedside lamp casting long shadows on the walls. Her laughter, once my favorite sound in the world, now sliced through me like a blade. I wanted to move. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to tear that man apart, but my body wouldn't listen. My legs were heavy, my arms numb, my breath caught somewhere between my chest and my throat. How long had this been going on? How many times had she done this while I was out breaking my back at work, trying to make a life for us? My heart pounded so hard I thought I might pass out. Betrayal has a way of suffocating you. It wraps itself around your lungs, squeezes your ribs, and turns every beat of your heart into a reminder of how blind you were. Then, without thinking, my phone slipped from my hand. The sharp crack of it hitting the wooden floor shattered the illusion. Lena's head snapped toward me. Her body stiffened, her face drained of color, and for the first time in a long time, she actually looked scared. "James?" she stammered, scrambling to cover herself, to reach for the blanket as if that could undo what had already been done. The man, some stranger, turned, his expression shifting from shock to arrogance in a split second. He didn't move to cover himself. He didn't flinch. He just smirked, as if this was some joke, as if I was nothing but an inconvenience in his night. That smirk broke something inside me. I turned and walked out, not because I was weak, not because I was a coward, but because if I had stayed another second longer, I don't know what I would have done. I needed air. I needed space. I needed to be anywhere but there. The night was cold, the streets almost empty. I got in my car, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. My whole body trembled, not from the cold, but from rage, heartbreak, disbelief. The streetlights blurred past as I drove, no destination in mind, only the need to escape the reality that had just been forced upon me. Everything we had built, every moment, every memory, Every night spent dreaming of a future together was a lie, and I was the last one to know. The thoughts came fast, relentless. How long had she been doing this? Was this the first time? No, it couldn't be. The distance, the coldness, the sudden nights out, the fake smiles she threw my way when I asked if something was wrong. It had all been there, staring me in the face. I was just too blind, too trusting, too much of a damn fool to see it. I had given her everything, and in return, she had treated me like I was nothing. My entire life had just collapsed in the space of seconds, and all I could think about was one thing. She was going to regret this. I don't remember how long I drove that night. Could have been hours or maybe just minutes that stretched into eternity. My hands gripped the wheel, knuckles white, jaw clenched so tightly I thought my teeth might crack. I felt like a ghost, drifting through a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The city lights blurred past me, neon signs flashing through my windshield, but I wasn't really seeing any of it. My mind was stuck, replaying that moment over and over again. The image of her, tangled in bed with that stranger. The way she gasped when she saw me, the smirk on his face. I should have done something, should have screamed, should have punched the guy, should have made her feel even a fraction of the pain she just carved into my chest. But I didn't. I just walked away, like a coward. The more I thought about it, the more it ate me alive. How stupid was I? How blind? All those late nights at work, the times she told me she was out with her friends, the way she suddenly became so protective of her phone, like it was her lifeline. It was all there, right in front of me. I was the fool who refused to see it. I pulled into an empty parking lot outside a rundown gas station. The neon, open 24/7, flickered like it was barely holding on. Just like me, I let my forehead drop against the steering wheel, gripping my hair, forcing back the suffocating rage twisting in my gut. A man shouldn't cry over a woman who betrays him. That's what they say, right? But sitting there, alone in my car, with my world crashing down around me, I felt the burn behind my eyes. Everything I had built, everything I had believed in had just turned to ash. I was exhausted, not just from the night, but from years of trying, of sacrificing, of giving everything to a woman who saw me as disposable. I used to think I was strong, that I could handle anything life threw at me. But this was different. I fumbled in my pocket for my phone, fingers shaking. A part of me wanted to call someone, anyone, just to hear a voice that wasn't my own thoughts screaming at me. But who was there to call? Lena had been my world, and now that world was gone. I stared at the screen, the reflection of my face staring back at me. Tired, broken, lost. Then the screen lit up. A message from her. I almost didn't open it, but something inside me, some sick, self-destructive part of me, needed to see what she had to say. Lena, James, please come home. We need to talk. It's not what you think. Not what I think. I almost laughed. The sound came out hollow, bitter. Not what I think. I saw it. I saw her. I saw him. I saw everything. And yet, even after all of it, she still had the nerve to lie. I let the phone fall into the passenger seat. I wasn't going home. Not yet. Not until I figured out what the hell I was going to do next. And one thing was certain. She wasn't going to walk away from this without consequences. The night felt endless. Sitting in my car, staring at the dull glow of my phone screen, I wondered how I had let my life turn into this mess. I was exhausted, hollowed out, but the weight of betrayal sat heavy on my chest, making sleep impossible. Eventually, the sun began to rise, casting an eerie light over the empty parking lot. I didn't know how long I had been sitting there, but the moment the sky shifted from dark to gray, reality hit me like a freight train. I couldn't stay here forever. I had two choices: return home and face the wreckage of my marriage, or disappear into the city and pretend none of it had ever happened. But I wasn't a coward. Not anymore. My body felt stiff as I climbed out of the car. The air was cold, biting at my skin, but I welcomed it. It reminded me that I was still alive, still breathing, even if my heart felt like it had been ripped out. I drove back, each mile heavier than the last. The house, the one I had worked so hard to build a life in, looked the same from the outside. A quiet, unsuspecting place. But I knew what was waiting for me inside. A battlefield. I took a deep breath before stepping in. The moment I opened the door, I saw her. Lena was sitting on the couch, still wearing the dress from the night before, her hair messy, eyes swollen from crying. She looked up at me, and for a second, I thought I saw relief flash across her face, like she thought I had come back to forgive her. "James, please." Her voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper. I didn't answer. I just walked past her, heading straight for the kitchen. I needed coffee, something to keep me grounded, because if I didn't, I might do something I'd regret. She followed, hovering in the doorway. "We need to talk." I let out a bitter laugh, pouring my coffee with shaky hands. "Talk? Now you want to talk?" I swear, it wasn't what it looked like. My grip tightened around the mug. The audacity, the absolute nerve. I turned to her slowly, meeting her bloodshot eyes with a look so cold it made her flinch. "So, you weren't in our bed with another man?" She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Caught. I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. "Jesus, Lena." It was a mistake. A mistake. That word again. As if cheating was like tripping on the sidewalk, something that just happened without intent. I laughed again, but this time it felt more like choking. "How long?" She hesitated. "James, How long?" She swallowed, looking away. That was all the answer I needed. I leaned against the counter, exhaustion sinking into my bones. Was it just him? Silence. The room was so quiet I could hear the faint ticking of the wall clock. The sound of my own heartbeat in my ears. "Lena." She let out a shaky breath. "No." My chest tightened, a dull ache spreading through my ribs. She didn't just betray me. She made a habit of it. Clenched my jaw. Last night, I thought about how blind I was. How stupid I must have been to not see it. I let out a humorless chuckle. But now I realize, you didn't even try to hide it. Tears streamed down her face. "James, please. I love you." Something inside me snapped. "You don't get to say that," I growled, slamming the mug onto the counter so hard I thought it might crack. "You don't get to love someone and do this to them." She broke down then, sobbing into her hands. But I felt nothing. No sympathy, no anger. Just a cold, empty void where my heart used to be. I wiped a hand down my face. "You should leave." Her head snapped up, panic in her eyes. "What? No, James, we can fix this." "I made a mistake." "A mistake that lasted how long?" I snapped. "A few weeks? A few months? Years?" She didn't answer. I exhaled sharply. That's what I thought. I turned away, unable to look at her anymore. "Pack your things. Be gone by tonight." She let out a choked sob. "You can't just throw me out like this." I turned back, my expression unreadable. "Watch me." And with that, I walked upstairs, leaving her to drown in her own guilt. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring blankly at the floor. The room felt suffocating, like the walls were closing in, filled with the ghost of memories I didn't want to relive. The photos on the nightstand, the scent of her perfume still lingering on the pillows. Everything felt like a cruel joke. I had spent years building this life with Lena, sacrificing my own happiness for the sake of stability, for the sake of what I thought was love. And now I was just a man sitting in the wreckage of a life that had been nothing but a carefully constructed lie. How many times had she brought them here? The thought made my stomach turn. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to breathe, but every inhale burned like acid in my lungs. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was physical. She had desecrated our home. I could still hear her downstairs, rustling through drawers, probably trying to figure out what to take, what excuses to make. But I didn't care. Not anymore. She had made her choice. A knock at the door pulled me out of my spiral. I already knew who it was. I sighed, rubbing a hand down my face before standing up and opening it. Lena stood there, her eyes red and swollen. clutching the strap of her purse like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. "James, please, can we at least talk?" I scoffed. "We already talked." "No, you talked. You told me to leave." Her voice broke, but I had no sympathy left for her. "I don't have anywhere to go." I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. "Not my problem. James, save it." My voice was cold, detached. I wanted her to feel even a fraction of the emptiness she had left me with. "You made your bed. Now go lie in it." She sniffled, looking at me with those damn eyes. The same ones that had once held love, or at least what I thought was love. Now all I saw was regret. And not even the regret of hurting me, the regret of getting caught. "You won't even listen?" she whispered. I let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, I've listened. I listened to every lie you told me. Every excuse. Every, 'I love you,' that apparently meant nothing. I think I've listened enough for one lifetime." Her lip quivered, but I didn't flinch. Couldn't. "Where will you go?" I finally asked, my voice void of any real concern. She hesitated, and for the first time I realized she really hadn't thought this through. She had been so comfortable in her deception, so sure she could keep her double life going, that she never prepared for the moment it would all come crashing down. "Well," I said, pushing past her and heading downstairs, "that's not my problem." She followed me, desperation creeping into her voice. "James, I was scared. I made mistakes, but it doesn't mean I didn't love you." That was it, the final straw. I turned on my heel so fast she almost bumped into me. Don't stand there and tell me you loved me while you were screwing other men in our bed." Her face crumpled. "I was lonely." I let out a slow, shaky breath, gripping the edge of the couch for support. "I was lonely, Lena. I was the one who worked myself into exhaustion to keep a roof over our heads. I was the one who stayed up at night, wondering why you were always working late. I was the one who felt like a ghost in my own damn marriage." Her tears fell freely now, but I was done. I wanted a partner, a wife, someone who would stand beside me when things got hard, not someone who would run the moment life got a little uncomfortable. She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. "No, I don't want to hear it." Silence stretched between us. I could see the gears turning in her head, trying to find a way to salvage this, to manipulate her way back in. But there was nothing left to salvage. I walked to the front door, unlocking it. "You have until tonight. Be gone before I get back." She stared at me, as if hoping for one last sign of weakness, one last chance. She wouldn't get it. With a heavy heart, I stepped out, slamming the door behind me. This wasn't the end, but it was the beginning of something else. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The weight of everything, the betrayal, the lies, the sheer absurdity of it all, pressed down on me like an anvil on my chest. I felt like a fool, like an idiot who had spent years of his life believing in something that was never real. The night was quiet, too quiet. The only sound was the rhythmic ticking of the engine cooling down, mirroring the slow but inevitable eruption building inside me. I had driven for hours with no real destination, just an overwhelming need to get away. I should have been angry, furious, even, but all I felt was empty, like some vital part of me had been carved out and replaced with an unbearable hollowness. How could she do this to me? After everything? After years of late nights? After the stress of making sure we had food on the table? After every sacrifice I made just to keep our heads above water? I had worked my ass off for her, and yet I was the one left with nothing. A part of me wanted to go back, to scream at her, to demand answers. But what good would it do? Would it change anything? No. The truth was, Lena didn't care. Not really. She only cared about herself, about what she wanted, about the thrill of sneaking around behind my back. She would never feel the same kind of gut-wrenching pain that had torn me apart. And that was when I realized this wasn't just heartbreak. This was war. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. The road ahead was dark, stretching into the unknown. But I knew one thing for certain. I wouldn't be the one left broken. I wouldn't be another pathetic man who gets stepped on and forgotten. If she thought she could walk away from this without consequences, she was dead wrong. I pulled my phone from my pocket, my fingers trembling as I scrolled through my contacts. There was only one person I could call right now, someone who knew me better than I knew myself, someone who would see the situation for what it was and tell me exactly what I needed to hear. I hit dial. The phone rang once, twice, then, "James?" A groggy voice answered. "Man, do you have any idea what time it is?" "Alex," I said, my voice raw. She cheated on me. Silence. Then a deep sigh. "Where are you?" "Nowhere. Everywhere. I don't know, I just started driving." "Stay where you are," he said. "I'm coming to get you." I wanted to argue, to tell him I was fine, that I didn't need saving. But the truth was I did. I needed someone to remind me that I wasn't alone. 15 minutes later, Alex pulled up beside me in his old Chevy. He took one look at me and let out a low whistle.
Jesus, man.
"You look like hell." I let out a humorless laugh. "Feels worse." He didn't say anything, just reached into the back seat and tossed me a flask. I hesitated, then took a slow sip. The whiskey burned all the way down, but it was a different kind of pain, one I could handle. "Tell me everything," Alex said, leaning back against his car. And so I did. I told him about the late nights, the whispers, the way she used to look at me like I was the only man in the world, only to replace me like I was nothing. By the time I was done, Alex let out a long breath and shook his head. "You know what you need to do, right?" he said. I looked at him, my mind still clouded with pain. "What?" "You need to make her regret every single thing she did to you." His words settled over me like a cold wind, and for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt something close to clarity. He was right. I had been the good guy for too long, the loyal husband, the dependable provider, the man who put his wife first, even when it meant sacrificing his own happiness. And look where that got me. Enough was enough. I wasn't going to be the victim anymore. Lena had made her choice. Now it was time for me to make mine, and I was going to destroy her. I barely slept that night. The whiskey dulled the pain for a little while, but it didn't erase the thoughts racing through my mind. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lena's face, the way she used to smile at me, the way she whispered she loved me. And then I saw her with him, in our bed, in my house. Rage bubbled up inside me, but this time, it wasn't the kind of anger that made you punch walls or scream into the void. No, this was colder, sharper, calculated. By the time the sun crept over the horizon, I had made my decision. Lena wasn't going to walk away from this unscathed. She had taken years of my life and thrown them away like garbage. She had taken my trust, my love, my dedication, and turned it into some joke behind my back. Well, if she thought she could just move on, she had another thing coming. The first step, finding the cracks. I sat in my kitchen, my laptop open in front of me, fingers hovering over the keyboard. If I was going to do this, I needed information. Lena had been sloppy. I had ignored the signs before, but now they were all I could see. The late nights, the fake excuses, the girls' nights out that never seemed to have any photos or proof. I opened our shared bank account statements first. I hadn't paid much attention before. I was too busy trying to keep us afloat financially, but now every little detail mattered. And there it was. Hotel charges. Multiple. Some cheap, some expensive. Dinner receipts from places I'd never been with her. Designer gifts that had never made their way into our home. She hadn't just been unfaithful. She had been living an entirely different life behind my back. A burning sensation settled in my chest. How long? How many times had she kissed me goodbye, only to run straight into the arms of another man? I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to stay calm. Emotions wouldn't help me now. The second step, gathering evidence. I scrolled through her social media next. She wasn't stupid. She never posted anything incriminating. But her friends did. One tagged photo caught my eye. Lena at a party, sitting just a little too close to some guy in a suit. She looked happy, relaxed. I had never seen that version of her in years. A deep bitterness settled in my stomach. I saved the picture, then kept scrolling. I checked our phone bill records next. Lena and I were on a shared plan, which meant I could see every incoming and outgoing call she made. One number stood out. Repeated calls. Late at night. Early in the morning. Bingo. I copied it and plugged it into a reverse phone lookup website. A few seconds later, the result popped up. Nathan Rhodes. I didn't know who he was, but I was damn sure going to find out. The third step. Making the first move. I sat back in my chair, my mind buzzing. The pieces were starting to come together, but I needed more. I needed undeniable proof. I wasn't going to be one of those guys who confronted his cheating wife and got fed some half-baked excuses about how it didn't mean anything, or it was a mistake. No, when I confronted Lena, it would be on my terms. And by the time I was done, she would wish she had never met me. I grabbed my phone and dialed Alex. He picked up on the second ring. "Tell me you didn't do something stupid," he said immediately. "Not yet," I replied, my voice steady. "But I need your help." There was a pause, then a resigned sigh. "All right, what's the plan?" A slow, dark smile curled on my lips. "Oh, you'll see." I spent the next few days moving through life like a ghost. Work became a blur, conversations felt meaningless, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. Lena, laughing with that stranger, her body language so easy, so relaxed, so intimate. It wasn't just physical. She had given him the version of herself that was supposed to be mine. But I wasn't going to let myself sink into self-pity. Not yet, because now I had a mission. Lena had spent months, maybe years, carefully constructing her double life. She had hidden it well enough to fool me, but not anymore. And if I was going to make her regret every moment of her betrayal, I needed to know everything. The truth unfolds. I sat at my desk late into the night, a notebook filled with scribbled details spread out before me. Every time I found something new, a hotel reservation, an expensive dinner, a name I didn't recognize, I wrote it down. Nathan Rhodes, the man I had caught her with. At first, I thought he was just some random fling. I was wrong. After running his number through every database I could find, I learned that Nathan wasn't just some guy. He was her coworker, a married man, with 2 kids. Perfect. A new kind of anger surged through me, cold, calculating, patient. If Lena thought she could just destroy our marriage and walk away without consequences, she was in for a rude awakening. And Nathan? Well, he had a whole family who deserved to know exactly what kind of man he was. Playing the long game, I knew I couldn't just barge into their world and expose them. Not yet. That would be too easy. Too fast. No, if I was going to do this, it had to be slow. Methodical. So I started gathering evidence. The texts, screenshotted. The hotel bookings, saved. The phone call records, logged. I even created a fake social media account and started following Lena's colleagues, subtly inserting myself into conversations, fishing for more information. And the things I learned, disgusting. Lena had been playing me for a fool for over a year. She had used our money, my money, to fund their little getaways. She had spent nights telling me she was working late, while she was wrapped up in another man's arms. And worst of all, she wasn't even sorry. I saw the way she acted around me, the fake smiles, the empty kisses, the way she barely even looked me in the eyes anymore. She thought I was too weak to do anything about it. Well, she was about to learn just how wrong she was. The first crack, my first move was small, subtle. I left a single and signed note in Nathan's office. "Does your wife know where you really were last weekend?" Nothing more.
No threats. No accusations.
Just a little seed of doubt. It didn't take long for the cracks to form. I kept an eye on Lena's behavior. The first day, nothing changed. But on the second day, she was tense, nervous, checking her phone more often. By the third day, I overheard her on the phone, her voice sharp and panicked. "What do you mean you got a note? Are you sure it wasn't just some mistake?" "Mistake? Oh, sweetheart, you have no idea." Preparing for the big reveal. Now that I knew they were on edge, it was time for the next step. I wasn't just going to ruin her life. I was going to let her ruin it herself. So I waited, and soon enough, Lena gave me exactly what I needed, because cheaters, they always slip up, and when she did, I'd be ready. I sat in my car outside Lena's office, watching as she walked inside with the same fake confidence she had worn for years. She had no idea that her carefully built world was about to collapse. I wasn't just planning revenge. I was orchestrating her downfall. The note to Nathan was only the first step, a small crack in their perfect little fantasy. But now, it was time to make those cracks turn into an earthquake, planting the seeds of chaos. The first thing I did was leak the truth, piece by piece. I sent an anonymous message to Nathan's wife. Nothing too detailed, just enough to stir suspicion. I thought you deserved to know where your husband really spends his late nights. Then, I made sure Lena's boss received an envelope filled with screenshots of her text messages and expense reports. Cheating on your husband is one thing. Using company money for your secret dates? That's career suicide. And finally, I set the trap. I made an anonymous social media account and started posting vague hints about a workplace affair, tagging just the right people. Colleagues, mutual friends, people who thrived on gossip. It didn't take long for whispers to turn into rumors. And rumors? They spread like wildfire, the first signs of panic. By the end of the week, I could tell that Lena was starting to crack. She was more distant than usual, constantly checking her phone, her face pale whenever she read a message. I overheard a call between her and Nathan while she thought I was asleep. Someone knows Nathan. Someone's trying to ruin us. Oh, sweetheart, you have no idea how right you are. I watched as she started deleting messages, erasing evidence, lying to people around her. But it was too late. The damage was already done. Nathan's world collapses first. It happened on a Friday afternoon. Nathan's wife didn't just suspect anymore. She knew. She stormed into his office and confronted him in front of everyone, screaming, crying, throwing his phone on the ground, exposing his texts with Lena. Nathan tried to calm her down, but it was too late. The entire office was watching. I heard later that he was put on suspension while HR conducted an internal investigation, which in corporate language means he was already done. And Lena? She had no idea that she was next. The moment it all fell apart. By Sunday, the panic in her eyes was unmistakable. I was sitting at the kitchen table, pretending to scroll through my phone, while she paced the living room. Then her phone rang. She answered it so fast it nearly fell from her hands. Hello. Pause. Her face drained of color. Wait, what? No, that's not possible. You don't understand, Another pause. Longer this time. And then tears. Big, dramatic, overwhelming sobs as she collapsed onto the couch, her head in her hands. I took a slow sip of my coffee. It was working. Her job was on the line. Her affair was no longer a secret. Her perfect little life was crumbling. And I wasn't done yet, because next, she was going to lose everything. Lena sat on the couch, staring at her phone like it was a loaded gun pointed at her head. She was unraveling. I could see it in the way her hands trembled, in the shallow rise and fall of her breath. This can't be happening, she whispered, but it was. Her entire world, the one she built on lies, deceit, and selfishness, was collapsing around her. The consequences catch up. Nathan was already ruined. His wife had kicked him out of their home, his career was in free fall, and his reputation was permanently stained. But Lena, she still had something left to lose, and I was going to take every last bit of it. Her phone buzzed again. She flinched like the sound physically hurt her. Lena, we need to talk. Call me back now. It was her boss, the one who had received those damning screenshots. The walls were closing in, and she knew it. Desperate attempts to salvage her life. She turned to me, her eyes red and puffy from crying. James, please, I need you to believe me. This is all a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I let out a dry, humorless laugh. That was the best she could come up with? A misunderstanding is when you forget to buy milk at the store. Lena, sleeping with another man, multiple men, is a choice. She sobbed harder, not out of guilt, but out of fear. She wasn't sorry for what she had done. She was sorry she got caught. The final blow to her career. The next morning, her world shattered completely. She walked into work, trying to act normal, but the whispers followed her like shadows. By noon, she was called into HR. By 1 p.m., she was packing up her desk. By 2 p.m., she was officially unemployed. I watched her walk through the front door that evening, her face hollow, her spirit broken. "I lost my job," she choked out. I took a sip of my coffee, feigning concern. "That's rough." She had no idea I was behind it, but she was about to find out. The final confrontation. That night, I waited until she was emotionally drained, until she was too weak to fight back. Then I struck. "Lena," I said calmly, sitting across from her at the dinner table. She looked up, eyes wary. She knew something was coming. "I know everything. About you. About Nathan. About the others." She gasped, but I didn't stop. "I know how long it's been going on. I know about the money you stole. I know that while I was working my ass off to support us, you were out playing house with other men." Her face crumpled, but I felt nothing. "And the best part?" I leaned forward, voice dripping with satisfaction. "Everyone else knows now, too." Lena shattered in front of me. Her career, gone. Her reputation, destroyed. Her future, ruined. And me, I was finally free. Lena sat at the dining table, a lifeless shell of the woman I once thought I loved. Her eyes were sunken, her shoulders slumped, her confidence shattered beyond repair. And for the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. But peace didn't pay the bills. And despite everything, I still had to figure out my own future, drowning in self-pity. After her firing, Lena spent her days locked in our bedroom. She barely ate, barely spoke. The confident, manipulative woman who once juggled multiple affairs was now nothing more than a broken, humiliated wreck. And yet, I felt no sympathy, because while she was drowning in regret, I had already drowned in betrayal, and no one had thrown me a life vest. Late at night, I could hear her muffled cries through the walls. A younger, softer version of me might have felt bad, might have walked in and comforted her. But I wasn't that man anymore. I was the man she created, a man fueled by pain, vengeance, and the unshakable knowledge that I had wasted years on someone who never deserved me, trying to claw her way back. One evening, as I sat in the living room, scrolling through job listings, Lena finally emerged. Her hair was tangled, her clothes wrinkled. She looked like a woman on the verge of collapse. "James," she started, her voice fragile. I didn't respond. "Can we talk?" I let out a slow breath and set my phone down. Not because I wanted to talk, but because I wanted to see what pathetic excuse she had prepared this time. She sat across from me, hands trembling. I messed up. I know that, and I can't take it back. But I need you, James. I need us. I tilted my head, pretending to be deep in thought. "Us," I repeated mockingly. "James, please. I can get another job. I can fix this. We can fix this. I just need a second chance." A second chance? Did she think this was a bad exam score? A mistake she could rewrite? No, this wasn't something that could be undone. A second chance? I scoffed, my voice cold. "Lena, you had years of chances. Years to be loyal, years to be honest. And instead, you chose to turn our marriage into a joke. You didn't just betray me. You made me feel like a fool in my own home." Her lip quivered. "I was stupid," she whispered. "Yes," I said, my tone sharp. "You were, but stupid wasn't the problem. Cruelty was." Her desperate last attempt. She must have realized then there was no saving this, because suddenly, her tears turned into rage. "You're just going to throw away everything?" she snapped, her voice rising. "After all we've been through?" I laughed, a genuine, deep laugh. "Everything?" I repeated, shaking my head. "You mean the years of lies? The nights you left me alone while you slept with another man? The money you stole from our accounts? That everything?" She clenched her fists, breathing heavily. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen." "No," I said, standing up. "You just didn't mean to get caught. Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. I grabbed my keys and walked past her, not bothering to look back. "Where are you going?" she demanded, voice desperate. "Somewhere you're not," I said simply. The power of walking away. For years, I had been the stable one, the responsible one, the man who put in the effort. And for years, she had made me feel small. But not anymore. As I stepped outside, taking in the crisp night air, something inside me shifted. I wasn't just leaving the house for a drive. I was leaving her, for good. The moment I stepped outside, I felt it. A strange, unfamiliar sense of relief. Like I had finally cut off a weight that had been slowly crushing me for years. The air was cold, biting against my skin, but I barely noticed. My mind was too loud. The echoes of Lena's desperate pleas still rang in my ears. "Please, James, don't do this. We can fix this." Fix? How do you fix something that was never real to begin with? I gripped the steering wheel of my car, knuckles turning white. I should have felt worse. I should have felt something, but all I felt was emptiness, drowning in the past. I drove aimlessly for hours, the city lights blurring past me. Every street, every building, they all looked the same, felt the same, like I had been sleepwalking through life this whole time. I pulled into an empty parking lot near an old diner I used to visit when I was younger, back when life made sense. Inside, the place was quiet. The smell of stale coffee and greasy food filled the air. I sat in a corner booth, my head in my hands. The memories started flooding in. The way Lena used to look at me when we first got together, like I was her whole world. The late-night drives, the whispered, "I love you," the promises we made. Promises she had no intention of keeping. And me? I had been a fool. I gave her everything. My trust, my loyalty, my heart. And she treated it like a disposable toy she could toss aside when something shinier came along. I gritted my teeth, staring at the chipped ceramic coffee cup in front of me. How many nights had I stayed awake, worrying about bills, about our future, about making her happy? And how many nights had she been out, making a fool of me? The rage burned deep in my gut, a slow, smoldering fire that I wasn't ready to put out. The call that changed everything. I was about to leave when my phone buzzed. Lena. I stared at the screen, debating whether to answer. She had already called 5 times. Each time I ignored it. But this time, I wanted to hear it. I wanted to hear how pathetic she sounded. I picked up. Silence. Then a shaky breath. "James? Are you coming home?" I almost laughed. Home? The place where I was humiliated? The place that reeked of betrayal? "No," I said, voice cold. "Please, just come back and talk to me." There was a desperation in her voice now. Not love, not regret, just fear. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid of losing the life I built for her. The house, the stability, the money. I had been nothing more than a stepping stone for her selfish little fantasy. And now that fantasy was crumbling. "Go to sleep, Lena," I said, voice void of emotion. "This conversation is over." I hung up before she could say another word. And for the first time in years, I felt in control. A new kind of pain. Driving back, I didn't go home. I went to a cheap motel on the edge of town. The room was small, smelled like cigarettes, and the mattress was stiff. But it didn't matter. It was mine. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The loneliness was suffocating. I had spent years building a life around Lena, and now that she was gone, I realized I didn't even know who I was without her. That was the real tragedy. Not that she cheated, not that she betrayed me, but that I had lost myself along the way. But no more. This was the start of something new. A new James, a stronger James. And if Lena thought she had seen the worst of me, she had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I woke up in that stiff motel bed, staring at the cracked ceiling. For the first time in a long while, the weight on my chest felt different. Not lighter, not gone, but different. I wasn't just a broken man anymore. I was a man with purpose, the reality of betrayal. I sat up, running a hand down my face. The events of the last 24 hours crashed over me like a tidal wave. Lena, her begging, her fake tears, her pathetic attempts at damage control. And me, I walked away. I thought it would hurt more. I thought I'd feel empty. But the only thing I felt was a slow-burning fire inside me. Betrayal does that to a man. It doesn't just break him, it reshapes him. I grabbed my phone. There were 10 missed calls from Lena. A few texts too. James, please, just talk to me. We can fix this. I love you. Lies. I threw my phone onto the nightstand, gripping the sides of my head. I had spent years sacrificing for that woman. Breaking my back to keep us afloat, swallowing my own pain to make sure she was happy. And she had been sleeping with someone else behind my back? No, she didn't get to walk away from this without consequences. Starting the plan, I pulled my laptop out of my bag and opened it. First stop, our bank account. I had never been one to micromanage finances. I trusted her. But now, I had to see the truth. I logged in, and that's when the first real punch landed. Thousands of dollars missing. Money I had earned. Money I thought we had saved for a future. Gone. And worse, transactions I never authorized. Expensive restaurants, hotel stays, jewelry stores. She hadn't just cheated on me. She had funded her affair with my money. I clenched my jaw so hard my teeth ached. This wasn't just betrayal. This was theft. And she thought she could get away with it? Not a chance. The first strike. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I needed to think bigger, smarter. Lena had a reputation. She loved her image, her perfect wife persona. She worked for a well-known marketing agency. Her entire job revolved around trust, credibility. And I was about to burn it all down. I started gathering evidence. Screenshots of the bank statements. Old texts I had ignored before but now saw clearly. Every little clue, every piece of proof, I collected it all. Then I made the first move. An anonymous email, straight to her boss. To whom it may concern, I believe you should be aware that one of your employees has been engaging in unethical behavior that could damage the company's reputation. Please see the attached files. Best regards, a concerned individual. I attached everything. The bank statements, the transactions, even a few questionable photos I had found in her cloud storage. And then, I hit send. I closed my laptop, leaned back, and exhaled. The game had begun. The taste of revenge. As I sat in that dim motel room, my heart pounded. Not with fear, but with something else. Satisfaction. For the first time in years, I felt powerful. Lena had spent so much time making me feel small, weak, insignificant. But now, she had no idea what was coming. And I was just getting started. The morning after I sent that email, I woke up with an unsettling sense of anticipation. I had done it. The first strike had been made. Now, I just had to wait for the world around Lena to start collapsing. I checked my phone. Nothing from her employer, yet. But Lena, 12 missed calls. I exhaled slowly, my heart pounding as I scrolled through her messages. James, please call me. It's urgent. What the hell did you do? You're ruining my life. Please talk to me. I didn't mean for this to happen. I felt nothing. Not guilt. Not regret. If anything, her panic was the first real satisfaction I had felt in weeks. The cracks in her perfect life. I got out of bed and made myself a weak motel coffee. The bitterness suited my mood. Lena had always been the type of person who lived for appearances. She cared about what people thought of her, what her friends, her boss, her coworkers thought. And now the facade was cracking. I knew her company would see the email first thing in the morning. Her boss, a corporate hard-ass with a zero-tolerance policy for anything that could tarnish the firm's reputation. And Lena, she was about to learn that actions have consequences. The first call of doom.
9:45 Uhr morgens.
The moment my phone rang and I saw the unknown number, I knew it had started. I let it ring once, twice. Then I picked up. Silence. Then her voice. Shaky, small, broken. James. I could hear it in her tone. She had been crying. Why did you do this? I sipped my coffee, let the silence stretch. Let her sit in it, let her feel the weight of it. I lost my job, she whispered. I didn't respond. James, please, this is my career. I worked so hard to get here. I cut her off. You worked hard. Did you work hard when you were booking hotel rooms with my money? When you were laughing behind my back? Silence. I could hear her shaky breathing. I messed up, okay? But we can talk about this. I let out a low chuckle. Talk? Like how you talk to your side guy in our bed. I think we're past that, Lena. She sobbed. I felt nothing. I don't know where to go, she whispered. Clenched my jaw. Good. That's not my problem. And then I hung up, watching the fire burn. I sat in that motel room, staring at the ceiling. The woman who had betrayed me, who had broken me, was now feeling the weight of her own actions. And yet, it wasn't enough. Losing her job? That was just the beginning. She still had her social circle, her reputation, her friends who had once looked up to her. And I was about to take that away too. I grabbed my phone again. Opened her social media, and I started typing. A simple post, just enough to plant the seed. Sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who betray you the worst. Funny how love blinds you until it's too late. I didn't tag her, didn't call her out directly, but I knew people would connect the dots. Lena had built her world on lies. Now I was going to tear it down brick by brick. And the best part? I wasn't even close to finished. I didn't expect the post to blow up the way it did. Within hours, the comments started pouring in. Friends, acquaintances, even people I barely knew were tagging others, speculating, whispering in the dark corners of social media. Wait, is this about Lena?
Damn, man.
Hope you're okay. Betrayal like that cuts deep. Bro, drop the receipts. We got your back. I scrolled through them, feeling an odd mix of satisfaction and emptiness. People loved a scandal. They fed off the drama like vultures circling a dying animal. And Lena? She had been the queen of her social circle, the untouchable, the admired. And now her empire was collapsing. Lena's desperation. By noon, my phone was blowing up again. Lena. This time she wasn't begging. She was furious. What the hell is wrong with you, James? You're turning everyone against me. You need to stop this now. I smirked as I sipped my coffee. Oh? You don't like how it feels when people see the truth. Silence on the other end. I lost my job, James. I lost my friends. My family won't even talk to me. I exhaled slowly. There it was. The consequences finally sinking in. I have nothing left, she whispered, her voice breaking. For a brief second, something inside me twitched. Was it guilt? No, she hadn't cared when she destroyed me. She hadn't cared when she spent my money on some other guy. She hadn't cared when she whispered sweet nothings into another man's ear while still wearing my ring. So why should I care now? Not my problem, Lena. I hung up, a taste of true isolation. That night I went out, not to a bar, not to celebrate. Just to breathe. Lena had taken so much from me. My trust, my dignity, my sense of self. But I was reclaiming it piece by piece. I sat in my car outside our old apartment. The place she had turned into a shrine of her betrayal. And then, as if the universe wanted me to see, the front door opened. She stepped out, but not in her usual confident stride. Not with that self-assured smirk. No, Lena looked hollow, dark circles under her eyes, hair unkempt, clothes thrown together. She wasn't the woman I had married. She was a shell. And standing there, in the cold night, I realized something. I didn't need to destroy her further. I didn't need more revenge. She had already done it to herself, walking away for good. I pulled out my phone, opened her last message. I have nothing left. I typed back 3 simple words. Neither did I. Then I blocked her. No more calls. No more messages. No more her. Because at that moment I knew I had won. I thought blocking Lena would be the end of it. That I could finally move on without looking over my shoulder. that the past would stay buried where it belonged. I was wrong. The unexpected message. A week passed in silence. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. No more sleepless nights replaying every painful memory. No more checking my phone, dreading another message from her. No more wondering, what did I do wrong? And then, on a quiet Friday night, it happened. A message. Not from Lena. Not from anyone I expected. From him. The other man's confession. His name was Ethan. One of many men she had entertained. I stared at the screen, my fingers tightening around my phone. Hey man, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I needed to reach out. I had no idea she was married. I swear to God, if I did, I never would have. I nearly laughed. As if his guilt could erase what happened. She told me you guys were separated, that she was miserable in her marriage, stuck with some guy who didn't love her anymore. My stomach twisted. How many times had she spun that same lie? I just found out the truth. And man, I need to warn you, she's not done with you. My breath caught in my throat. Not done with me? The storm returns. Ethan didn't sugarcoat it. Lena wasn't just spiraling. She was plotting. She had lost everything. Her job, her reputation, her cushy life of deception. And in her mind, there was only one person to blame. Me. She's talking about how she's going to ruin you, man. She's saying you turned everyone against her. That you owe her for destroying her life. I closed my eyes, rubbing my temples. Of course, Lena was never the type to accept responsibility. She was the victim in her own twisted story. And now she wanted revenge. A brewing war. I could have ignored it. Could have laughed it off as another desperate attempt at attention. But deep down, I knew better. Lena wasn't just vindictive. She was calculating. And if she couldn't fix her own life, she'd make damn sure to wreck mine. I exhaled, my grip tightening around my phone. Fine. If she wanted a war, she was about to get one. I should have known Lena wouldn't just disappear. I should have expected her to lash out. But I wasn't prepared for how far she was willing to go. The mysterious call. It started with a phone call. A blocked number in the middle of the night. First, I ignored it. Then another, and another. By the time my phone buzzed for the 6th time, I finally answered. Hello. Silence. A slow, shaky breath on the other end. Then a whisper. You ruined my life, James. My stomach clenched. Her voice was hoarse, almost unrecognizable. You think you won? You think I'm just gonna disappear? I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tighter. Lena, stop. Just move on. A bitter laugh. Oh, sweetheart, I am moving on. But first, I'm gonna make sure you know what it feels like to lose everything. The line went dead. The smear campaign begins. The next morning, I woke up to chaos. My phone was blowing up. Texts, missed calls, notifications. Co-workers, friends, even my boss. The first message I opened made my blood run cold. Dude, WTF is going on? Did you really? I clicked the link attached. Fake article. A blog post. Title in bold. James Carter. The abuser, the cheat, the monster. My heart pounded as I scrolled through. Lies. Twisted half-truths. Fake screenshots. Claims that I had emotionally abused Lena. That I had cheated on her for years. That I was a manipulative, dangerous sociopath. The worst part? People were believing it. Lena's masterpiece of deception. It wasn't just one blog. It was everywhere. Hedge tutoriais. Facebook posts. Anonymous whistleblower accounts. She had fabricated dozens of conversations, twisting reality to make herself look like the victim. And me? I was the villain of her story. My boss sent a brief, clipped email. James, we need to talk. Urgently. I felt sick, losing ground. By the end of the day, my reputation was in freefall. I lost a freelance client. A friend I had known for years blocked me without explanation. Even my own mother called, asking if I needed to come clean. This wasn't just drama. This was character assassination. and I knew exactly who was behind it. The boiling point. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The weight of betrayal, rage, and humiliation boiled inside me. I had given Lena everything. Years of loyalty. My trust. My heart. And now, she wanted to burn my life to the ground. Fine. If she wanted to play dirty, she had no idea what was coming. Lena thought she had one. She thought I would sit back and watch as she dragged my name through the mud. But she underestimated me. She played dirty. Now it was my turn. The research begins. I locked myself in my apartment for the next 48 hours. Laptop open. Phone on silent. If Lena wanted a war, she was going to get one. And the first rule of war? Know your enemy. I started digging. Her past. Her finances. Every lie she had ever told. And within hours, I found cracks in her story. The truth buried in the details. I scrolled through old messages, bank statements, and social media posts. Then I found it proof. A series of transactions linking her to a man named Bryce Holloway. I recognized his face instantly. He was the guy I had caught her with. Only he wasn't just a random affair. He was a con artist. A man with 3 different aliases and a record of fraud. Lena hadn't just cheated on me. She had gotten tangled in something far worse. Weaponizing the evidence. Now I had leverage. Screenshots. Bank records. Emails that exposed every dirty little secret. Lena wasn't just a cheating wife. She was an accomplice to a man with a criminal past. If the world wanted a scandal, I was about to give them one. Dropping the bombshell. That night, I sent everything to a journalist I knew from college. Then, I made an anonymous Reddit post. A thread exposing Lena and Bryce for who they truly were. I uploaded documents. Screenshots. Receipts. Within hours, it exploded. People who had believed her turned against her. Her victim narrative fell apart. And then, the final blow. Her job found out. Lena's downfall. The next morning, Lena called me in a panic. "James, what did you do?" Her voice was shaking, terrified. "Oh, I just did what you did, sweetheart." Silence. Then, a broken whisper. "You ruined me." I smirked.
No, Lena.
"You ruined yourself." She hung up, and for the first time in months, I felt free. Lena thought she could manipulate the world, paint herself as a victim, and walk away unscathed. But she had no idea what was coming next. The world turns against her. After my expose went viral, her life collapsed overnight. Her social circle gone. Her friends turned against her. Her boss furious. It was everywhere.
Online forum. News blog.
Even local TV stations picked it up. Lena wasn't just a cheater. She was an accomplice to a fraud. People started digging into Bryce Holloway's past. Turns out he wasn't just some random guy. He had outstanding warrants. Lawsuits. A history of exploiting women for money. And Lena, she was just another pawn in his game. The panic call. At 2 a.m., my phone rang. Lena. I let it ring. Then another call. And another. She was desperate. I finally picked up. Silence. Then, a shaky voice. "James, please, we need to talk." I smirked. "We? Who's we?" "You and the guy you cheated on me with?" She exhaled sharply, trying to keep it together. "Bryce is gone. He disappeared. And now people are coming after me." So now she needed me? I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the moment. "That sounds like a you problem, Lena. The ultimate betrayal." She started crying. Her voice cracked. "James, I made a mistake. I didn't know who he really was." "Oh, the audacity. You didn't know? You were wiring him thousands of dollars. You helped him scam people. Don't play dumb, Lena." She was sobbing now. "I lost everything. My job, my money, my friends. And whose fault is that?" Silence. She had nothing left to say. The final blow. I let her beg. Let her drown in the mess she created. Then, just as she thought I might forgive her, I laughed. "Goodbye, Lena. Enjoy the life you chose." and I hung up. For the first time in years, I felt free. Lena thought rock bottom was losing her job. She was wrong. Her real nightmare was just beginning. Public humiliation. Lena's fall from grace wasn't just a private affair. It became a public spectacle. Her face was all over social media. People shared her texts, bank transactions, hotel receipts. The same people she once partied with now called her a gold-digging traitor. Her family disowned her. Her old friends refused to speak to her. She was officially a pariah, a desperate attempt. Days later, a message popped up on my phone. Lena, I didn't bother reading it. Then another, and another. Ignored. Then, at midnight, my doorbell rang. I checked the camera feed. There she was, crying, makeup ruined, hair a mess, holding a suitcase, like I was supposed to take her back. The final confrontation. I opened the door, arms crossed. James, please, I have nowhere to go. I leaned against the doorway. Not my problem. She sobbed harder. Bryce drained my accounts. My landlord kicked me out. I have nothing left. So now, after destroying my life, she expected a second chance? Did you think about this when you were sneaking around with him? Or when you wired him my money? She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I was stupid, James. I made a mistake. I was lonely. I laughed. And now you're even lonelier. Then I slammed the door in her face. Justice served. The next day I heard the news. Bryce had vanished. Gone. Like a ghost. And Lena, she was completely broke. I knew where she'd end up. A cheap motel, begging for help. And me, for the first time in years, I felt peace. No more pain. No more lies. No more Lena. Karma had finally done its job. Lena learned the hard way. Some mistakes you can't take back. She thought I'd forgive her. She thought I'd take her back. She thought there was a second chance. She was wrong. The aftermath of betrayal. Weeks had passed. Lena was officially homeless. I heard she couch-surfed, hopping from one friend to another. But friends disappear fast when you have nothing left to give. The men she entertained, they wanted nothing to do with her now. She had burned every bridge, and the one person she thought would catch her, me, had let her fall. The final plea. One evening, while grabbing coffee, I noticed a disheveled figure sitting outside the cafe. Took me a second to realize it was her. She looked broken. A shadow of the woman she used to be. As I approached my car, she stood up and rushed toward me. James, wait. I sighed. What do you want, Lena? She hesitated, swallowing hard. I need your help, just for a little while. I don't have anywhere else to go. The audacity. She betrayed me, destroyed me. And now, when she's at her lowest, she wants my help? The cold truth. I looked her dead in the eyes. Do you remember that night, Lena? She blinked, confused. The night I caught you in our bed with another man. Her face flushed with shame. I stepped closer, voice low but firm. Do you remember how I begged for the truth? How I stood there, shattered, while you made excuse after excuse. Tears welled up in her eyes. James, do you remember how you looked at me like I was worthless? Silence. I nodded. That's exactly how I feel about you now. Her face crumpled. She broke down, sobbing in the street. But I didn't care anymore. I opened my car door, slid inside, and without another glance, I drove away. No more sympathy. That was the last time I ever saw her. She made her choices. She dug her grave. Now she had to live with it. For the first time in years, I felt nothing for her. And you know what? Felt good. I won't lie. Even after everything, even after I saw Lena begging in the street, a part of me still felt something. Not love. Not sympathy. Just a distant memory of who we used to be. But memories don't pay the bills. Memories don't erase betrayal. And memories sure as hell don't fix a broken man. Turning pain into strength. For weeks, I lived in a fog of exhaustion. I went to work. Came home. Stared at the ceiling for hours. Lena had shattered me, and I felt like a hollow version of the man I used to be. And then something changed. One night, while scrolling through old photos, I saw a picture of myself. It was from years ago. Back when I still had dreams. Back when I smiled for real. Back when I thought the world had something to offer me. That man, the one in the photo, he deserved better. I clenched my jaw, set my phone down, and made a decision. I wasn't going to let her ruin me, rebuilding the man she destroyed. The next morning, I made the first change. I got up earlier. No more lying in bed, drowning in what-ifs and self-pity. I started working out again. Not for revenge. Not for her. For me. I cut off everything that reminded me of Lena. Deleted her photos. Burned the old letters. Sold the bed we used to share. A clean slate. I reconnected with old friends, the ones I had drifted away from because of her. I focused on my job, but this time I wasn't just clocking in to survive. I was planning for something bigger. I wasn't just going to move on. I was going to level up. The moment I knew I was free, months passed. Then one day, out of nowhere, I got a message. A random number, but I recognized the tone immediately. "Hey, can we talk?" Lena. I stared at the screen for a full minute. Then I did something I never thought I could. I laughed. Not bitterly. Not angrily. Just genuinely. Because in that moment I realized I had won. She was still stuck in the past, drowning in her own mistakes, while I was finally free. I didn't even respond. I just blocked the number. Then I stood up, took a deep breath, and stepped into my new life. A life without her. A life where I came first. And damn, felt good. For the first time in years, I felt powerful. Not because I had moved on, not because I had healed, but because I held all the cards now. Lena was gone, but her betrayal had left scars too deep to fade easily. I had spent months rebuilding myself, but there was one last piece of closure I needed. I didn't just want to move on. I wanted to make sure she never forgot what she did to me. Setting the trap. I knew Lena well. I knew how she thought, how she acted, how she manipulated people. And I knew exactly how to beat her at her own game. She was desperate now. After losing her job, her reputation, and every ounce of dignity, she was looking for an easy way back into a comfortable life. She had already tried texting me, and when that didn't work, she tried reaching out to mutual friends, spinning a sob story about how she had changed, how she missed me, how she made a mistake. I let her believe it was working. I planted the seed, had a few friends casually mention that I was doing well, making more money, that I had bought a new car, upgraded my apartment. Lena took the bait immediately. I could see it in her messages, the slow, calculated shift in tone, the sudden concern for how I was doing. I played along. Kept my answers short. Just enough to make her think she still had a chance. And then I made my move, the ultimate payback. I invited her to meet up. A casual dinner. A place she had always loved when we were together. She showed up dressed to impress, wearing the same perfume she used to wear when she wanted something. Pathetic. She smiled at me like nothing had happened, like we were just two people catching up. I let her talk. She went on and on about how hard life had been, how she had learned from her mistakes, how she regretted everything. I could hear the desperation in her voice, the way she tried to make it seem like we still had something left to fix. And then she said it, "I miss you, James." I almost laughed. She really thought she could walk back into my life after everything she had done? I leaned forward, looked her dead in the eyes, and smiled. "I miss you too, Lena." For a moment, I saw hope flicker in her eyes, and then I dropped the bombshell. "But I'd rather set myself on fire than ever touch you again." Silence. She blinked. Her mouth opened slightly, like she was going to protest, but nothing came out. The color drained from her face. She finally understood. I wasn't a fool anymore. I wasn't the broken, pathetic man she had once toyed with. I had won. I threw a couple of bills on the table, stood up, and walked out without another word. And damn, felt better than I ever imagined. I walked out of that restaurant with my head held high. The cold night air hit my face, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, I breathed freely. No more guilt. No more wondering if I had done something wrong. No more wishing things had been different. Lena was officially nothing more than a ghost in my past. But something still lingered inside me. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even the satisfaction of seeing her crumble under the weight of her own betrayal. It was emptiness, the echo of pain. You see, people always assume revenge is the final step. That once you get even, once you serve justice, you'll magically be healed. But that's a lie. I had one. I had crushed her, humiliated her, and taken back my dignity. So why did it still feel like I was dragging my feet through wet concrete? I got in my car and just sat there, staring at the steering wheel. The memories started creeping in. The way she used to smile at me when we first met. The late night talks when she promised she'd always be there. The warmth of her body next to mine before I knew she was a monster. I clenched my jaw, willing myself to snap out of it. She wasn't that woman anymore. Hell, maybe she never was. The breaking point. I drove. No destination, just miles of road and headlights flashing by. The city was alive, people laughing, living their lives. I felt like a stranger in my own world, stuck between who I used to be and who I was now. I pulled into a gas station, grabbed a coffee, and just stood there, watching strangers come and go. Some of them were probably cheaters. Some were probably like me, trying to put their lives back together after being shattered by someone they loved. I had spent so much time thinking about Lena's betrayal, so much time plotting the perfect way to make her suffer. But what about me? When was the last time I did something for myself? Not out of spite. Not to prove a point. Just for me. I looked at my reflection in the gas station window. I looked like a man who had been through war. Exhausted. Worn down. But still standing. That had to count for something, right? A new chapter. I got back in my car, gripping the steering wheel. Enough is enough. I had let Lena steal years of my life. She had taken my trust, my love, my faith in people. But she wasn't going to take my future. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through old contacts, and deleted them. Every message. Every picture. Every damn memory I had been holding on to. Then, for the first time in months, I smiled. Not because I had destroyed her. Not because I had gotten my revenge. But because I was finally free. And for the first time in years, I was ready to live again. I woke up the next morning with a strange feeling in my chest. Not pain, not anger, just emptiness. For so long, I had been driven by revenge, fueled by the fire of betrayal. But now that it was over, now that Lena had paid for everything she did, I was left with a question I hadn't dared to ask myself before. What now? For the first time in years, my phone wasn't buzzing with her messages. No fake apologies, no manipulative pleas, no desperate attempts to make me take her back. Silence. And it felt weird, letting go of the past. I got up, walked to the mirror, and took a long, hard look at myself. The man staring back at me was different. Older, maybe. A little more hardened. But he was still standing. I had spent too much time trying to understand why she did what she did. Why she threw away everything we built. Why she chose him, chose them over me. But maybe the truth was simpler than I wanted to admit. Maybe some people just don't deserve love. I turned away from the mirror, grabbed my phone, and did something I should have done a long time ago. I blocked her. On everything. No more checking her social media. No more wondering if she regretted it. No more waiting for her to break. She was gone, and I was finally free. The first step forward. I walked outside, the cool morning air hitting my skin. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. No weight pressing down on my chest. No invisible chains keeping me trapped in the past. I got in my car and just drove. Not to escape, not to run away, but to finally move forward. The world outside looked different. Not brighter, not better, but possible. Maybe happiness wasn't something that was stolen from me. Maybe it was something I had to fight for. And maybe, just maybe, it was finally my turn to live. A message for the ones who need it. If you're listening to this and you're in that dark place, where betrayal feels like a knife in your back, where every day feels like a fight just to exist, I want you to hear this, You are stronger than you think. Yes, it hurts, Dot. Yes, it feels like you'll never be the same again, Dot. And you won't. But that's not a bad thing. Because the version of you that comes out of this, the version of you that survives, that man is unstoppable. And if I could make it through, so can you. So keep going, Dot. One day you'll wake up and realize you never needed them anyway.